It is 7:20 on ABC Western Plains. The much-debated location for a drug and alcohol rehabilitation centre was again on the agenda at last night's Dubbo Regional Council meeting. With the current Spears Drive location opposed by many, the clock is ticking to find an alternative location. So what have the council decided? Mayor Matthew Dickerson joins me now. Good morning.
Morning, Jess. Good to see you.
Lovely to see you too. Now, let's get straight to it, straight to business. What happened at last night's meeting?
Well, I'm embarrassed actually, Jess, that I'm sitting here talking to you because this is one of those things that we've discussed before and it's been discussed in the community a bit, that it's nothing to do with council. And this is the frustrating part from a council perspective. State government facility, make your decisions and get on with it, because we're keen as councillors to see this facility built. Now, council's been continually dragged into this whole debate, which is ridiculous. But last night at the council meeting, we wanted to put it to bed because, again, this process has been going on with lots of commentary around it. And so what we did, we had a resolution last night that said, based on the criteria from New South Wales Health and based on the 19 sites, I've been talking about more than 16 sites as an approximate number. There were 19 sites listed in our business papers last night of sites that we've discussed with New South Wales Health that are council-owned sites. There's a myriad more that they've obviously looked at. They've got their own sites they own. They could have any site they want. They're the state government. They could take any site they want. So we put forward all that and said, based on all of that, we don't think that we've got any parcel of land that suits the criteria that New South Wales Health wants. So that was discussed and debated. And then as an amendment went through, and which is now part of the resolution of council, we said, but look, if you really want to be sure, we'll offer up a couple of sites for further assessment. Even though we've done it already, let's give you a couple of other sites for further assessment, North Bungle Gumby and Green Grove as further assessment. Have a look at those and come back to us and tell us if those are suitable, despite the fact you've looked at them previously, despite the fact that they don't match your criteria that you've given us.
Well, speaking of Bungle Gumby Road, so is this the same location that was previously recommended, but then council said it was no longer available?
Well, it's not suitable, and there are two different sites on North Bungle Gumby, and that's one of the confusing things for people as well.
Right.
When people say North Bungle Gumby, which site do you mean? Oh, I don't know, just North Bungle Gumby.
So is this the one that we were talking about before when we kept referring to Bungle Gumby Road, or is this a different site?
Well, we'll talk to them about both, because again, people don't know what they're talking about when they say North Bungle Gumby.
Yeah, so both are on the cards for the state government, but they weren't previously. So why is it available again now? You just kind of a bit exhausted by the process? Or?
Probably, but it's not actually that they're available. We're saying have a look at these sites for assessment and tell us if they're going to be suitable, despite the fact that you've told us before they're not suitable.
Why did they say they weren't suitable before?
Well, there's a whole range of criteria, and you can look through the business papers and see all the criteria, but the range of distance from the hospital, and they want services because they want to get this up and going. So North Bungle Gumby is a perfect example. Doesn't have water, doesn't have sewer, doesn't have electricity, doesn't have power, doesn't have roads.
So the health minister, Ryan Park, seemed to indicate that he would be open. He was just waiting for council to kind of make a decision when we spoke to him.
Well,
so he seemed open to Bungle Gumby Road when we spoke.
He didn't even spell it right. He didn't actually know exactly where North Bungle Gumby was. So when I spoke to him about North Bungle Gumby and I spoke to him about a whole range of options, it was really along the lines of, look, sure, let us look at something, but we're pretty committed to Spears Drive is the message that I got. And even in the interview that he did with you, I got the message that he was pretty committed to Spears Drive. Again, why is council being dragged into this? It's not council's decision. And this is the ridiculous part. Us trying to tell, it's like me trying to tell you, Jess, where you should buy your house. Well, no, it's your money. You'll spend it where you want and you'll live where you want.
Well, Matthew, it's very sweet that you think I have the money to buy a house. What is the Green Grove location? This is the first I've heard of this one.
So that's one of the many sites we offered. Green Grove is a property that council owns, and what we do with our water that comes out of our sewage treatment plants, our water that's a pretty good quality but not good enough to drink, we send that out to a property called Green Grove and we grow crops with it. So council's a farmer as well. So that was a decision made about 20 odd years ago to take advantage of that water rather than put that wastewater straight back into the river. We use it to grow crops.
So it's not residential?
No. And this is one of the things. When council first started looking at land for the state government, we had no idea of the criteria. We imagined, and again, this is back before my time on council, we imagined they wanted a rural location. So lots of rural location sites were put forward as potential sites for the state government. And of course, then finally they said, oh, no, we're actually after a residential area.
And New South Wales Health requires it to be within, 5 minutes of a hospital?
No, that keeps changing as well. Yeah. It was 10 minutes. We were told definitely 10 minutes. And then we had a discussion just recently where they said it's 10 to 15 minutes. And I actually made the point, I said, well, do you mean more than 10 and less than 15? Do you mean up to 15? No, it's 10 to 15. Well, that doesn't make sense. It's either less than 10 or less than 15. Would you accept 16? Oh, probably. So is it now less than 16 minutes? Again, this is the thing. It's ridiculous that I'm, as a council, is trying to tell someone where to put something when you've got criteria that I don't even know about.
So North Bungle Gumby Road land, the Green Grove location, will either of those locations cause a delay or a massive change in the budget as far as the rehab centre being built is concerned?
Absolutely. Again, servicing. You've got North Bungle Gumby, where everyone keeps pointing to. There is no water, there is no sewer, there is no electricity, there's no NBN, and there's no road. So to do that, and actually, a subdivision, throw a subdivision in there as well. So that will cause a massive delay, and that will cause increased costs, obviously, unless you're expecting council to pay for all that. And council's been putting up with cost shifting from the state government for decades now. We're now not only getting cost shifting, Jess, but we're getting blame shifting as well. Really, the community wants this to go ahead. And I've actually said to the Minister, we think you should just choose a location, and we oppose Spears Drive. So council does not agree with Spears Drive. Choose a location that's suitable and go for it rather than keep delaying and keep pointing the finger at everyone else. It's a state government decision. I don't know how many times I can, or how much I can stress that.
So now we just wait to see if New South Wales Health agrees to either of those alternatives, Bungle Gumby Road, North Bungle Gumby Road I should say, or the Green Grove location, or if they decide to go ahead with Spears Drive, and then an official offer is going to be made by the council.
Well, it won't be an official offer if, for example, Spears Drive, because that's not our land. But keep in mind, this is the state government. They can choose any parcel of land they want. And even when North Bungle Gumby, on 31st of March last year, when we said, well, hold on, it's not appropriate, they could have still said, well, I'm sorry, we're the state government, we'll just have it, thanks very much, because they've got that power. But it wouldn't come to that. If the state government sent us a formal letter that said, we've had a look at all the land and we actually want North Bungle Gumby, then we're not going to stand there in the road of the state government because they've got that compulsory acquisition power.
Well, we're with Dubbo Regional Council Mayor Matthew Dickerson. Now let's move on to the projected shortfall to complete the Wiradjuri Tourism Centre, the Old Dubbo Jail, Heritage Plaza and the Macquarie River Foreshore Precinct. So it's a nearly $9 million shortfall, and the recommendation was to transfer $4 million that was currently allocated to the Wiradjuri Tourism Centre to the other two projects and to consider alternatives to fund the cultural tourist attraction. What was the decision at last night's meeting, and what happens if you're unable to secure alternative funding?
So a few things there. One of the things is that this is a classic example of not planning things properly. So this was done many years ago, 2018. These applications were put in for grant funding without actually doing business cases, without actually doing some proper funding analysis. So we got the grant funding. Fantastic. 3 projects. Let's go full steam ahead. Oh, wait up, we didn't actually do the costing on these, and they're a lot more than they ever were imagined to be.
So that's why there's a blowout. What's going to happen with the Wiradjuri Cultural Centre now?
Well, councils are very keen to see the Wiradjuri Cultural Tourism Centre built. I think that will be the jewel in our crown of tourism and culture in Dubbo once we get it built. But we've got to get it built right, and that's the important part here.
So we're redirecting the funding, though, away from it?
Correct. So we're redirecting the funding so we don't lose it. So we've got a couple of different funding buckets, and they've got deadlines on them. So, for example, the Infrastructure New South Wales funding has got a hard deadline. And when we've spoken to the funding body and said, we want to get some other funding for Wiradjuri Cultural Tourism Centre, can we have some extra time? They said, no, you need to spend that money. So Create New South Wales, on the other hand, have said, sure, you've got till June 2026 to spend that money. So we'll keep that in the Wiradjuri Cultural Tourism Centre. We'll move funding from the Infrastructure New South Wales Fund to the Events Precinct and the Old Dubbo Jail. And then using the Create New South Wales funding and some council money, we can go out and look for some new funding because there's a new program that opens up on the 1st of August.
So the Create New South Wales funding, is that guaranteed? I mean, because what if it doesn't come through in the end? Are we going to be without a cultural centre?
Well, guaranteed. Is anything guaranteed in life? Probably not. But yes,
so it's a bit of a gamble, slightly.
Not really. We've been told by Create New South Wales we've got till June 2026 to use that money. So I have faith in the discussions that our staff are having with staff from state government to say the money is available still till that date. I would be very surprised if next month they then said, sorry, you can't have it anymore. And
just quickly, why is council prioritising the other two projects? So why aren't you relying on government funding for the jail or the river projects and shifting the money towards getting the Wiradjuri Cultural Centre up?
Yeah, so those other two projects are then fully funded with state government money, but again, it's about losing that funding. If we said, let's direct the funds we've got to the Wiradjuri Cultural Tourism Centre, there's still a shortfall, and then we've still got to come up with money for the other two. So by doing the INSW money to the other two projects, we can guarantee those two are finished, and then we've got the jewel in the crown will be the Wiradjuri Cultural Tourism Centre. Again, rather than having the $9 million blowout, as you mentioned there, the cost to council will be $2.2 million.
We've been joined by Mayor Matthew Dickerson. I'm sure we could have spoken to you for a lot longer, but we must go because we've got 7:30 news coming up. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Stick around after 7:30. We are going to talk about the Matildas' shock loss.